Hello, hello! Welcome back to Key to Learn English. I'm Sarah, and honestly, today I am so fired up about this topic. Like, I've been waiting to talk about this one for a while.
And I'm Ryan. And did you notice what Sarah just said? She's been waiting to talk about this, which is actually the perfect irony, because today's topic is stop waiting for the perfect time.
Oh, wow. I did not even plan that. That is genuinely embarrassing. But also, perfect. Ryan, you caught that beautifully.
I'm here all week, but seriously, today's topic is one that hits close to home for both of us, because how many times have you said to yourself, I'll start when I'm ready. I'll do it when the time is right. I'll begin after this busy period is over.
And then the busy period ends, and another one begins, and you're still waiting.
This episode is for anyone who has a dream, a goal, or even just a small thing they've been putting off and keeps telling themselves, not yet, soon, later, when the time is perfect.
We are going to talk about why we do this, what it actually costs us, and most importantly, how to finally just start, right now, with what you have, exactly as you are.
Quick level check before we go. This is a B1 intermediate episode. If you're A2, you are absolutely welcome here. Just listen, relax, and come back a second time. Every listen makes you stronger.
And our comment challenge for today is this. Write one thing you have been putting off and waiting for the right time to start. Just one honest thing. It could be your English practice, a hobby, a conversation you need to have. Anything. We want to read it.
Also, please like this episode, subscribe to Key to Learn English, and share it with one person today who needs a little push. You might just change someone's week. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, first idea, and I'm going to say something that might sting a little. The perfect time? It does not exist. It is a beautiful, convincing, very comfortable lie that our brain tells us to keep us safe.
A beautiful lie. I love that. And it is beautiful because it feels so reasonable. It feels responsible even. Like, of course I should wait until I'm more prepared. Of course I should start when things calm down. That sounds like wisdom.
Exactly. That's the trap. It sounds like wisdom, but it's actually fear wearing a very sensible coat. Fear dressed up in a suit, carrying a calendar, saying, just not yet.
Fear in a suit. That is such a good image. But okay, why does our brain do this? Why do we keep waiting?
Because starting something new is genuinely scary. When you start, you might fail. You might look foolish. You might discover that you're not as good as you hoped. And as long as you haven't started yet, none of those things can happen. Waiting feels safe.
Waiting protects you from failure, but it also protects you from everything else, from growth, from progress, from the life you actually want.
I have a friend, really smart guy, who has been talking about starting his own business for 5 years. Every year, it's a new reason to wait. First, I need more money saved. Then, I need to learn more about marketing. Then, the economy is uncertain right now. Then, I just got a new job. Let me settle in first.
And look, some of those reasons sound completely valid on the surface.
They do. They really do. But here's the thing. 5 years later, he still hasn't started. And every year that passes, the dream gets a little heavier. Because now it's not just, I haven't started yet. It's, I've been meaning to do this for 5 years, and I still haven't. That wait? That's not nothing.
There's actually a phrase for this. It's called analysis paralysis. When you think and plan and prepare for so long, researching, waiting, getting ready to get ready, that you never actually move. The more you analyze, the more paralyzed you become.
Getting ready to get ready. Oh, I know that feeling so well. I have spent entire weekends getting ready to study, setting up my desk perfectly, finding the right playlist, downloading the right app, and then suddenly, it's 9 p.m. and I haven't actually studied anything.
We all do this. We confuse preparation with progress. We confuse planning with doing. And they are not the same thing. Planning feels productive, but only doing actually moves you forward.
So the first idea is this: the perfect time is not coming. It never arrives, because perfect conditions don't exist. Something will always be slightly wrong, slightly inconvenient, slightly not ready. The question is not, when will the time be perfect? The question is, am I willing to start anyway?
Okay, idea two. And this one is important because I think we underestimate the cost of waiting. We think waiting is neutral, like nothing is happening, so nothing is being lost. But that is not true.
Not true at all. Waiting has a very real price, and I want to talk about 3 things it costs you.
Okay, three things. Go.
First cost? Time. And I know, obvious, right? But really think about it. If you've been waiting 2 years to start something, that's 2 years of potential progress that simply didn't happen. 2 years of skill you could have built. 2 years closer to the version of yourself you want to become. That time doesn't come back.
Time is the one thing you can never get more of. Money, you can earn more. Energy, you can rest and restore it. Time, once it goes, it's gone. And every day you wait is a day you spent on not yet instead of let's go.
Second cost, confidence. And this one is sneaky, because you might think, when I'm more confident, I'll start. But actually, confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Every time you do something that scares you, even imperfectly, your confidence grows. Every time you wait, it quietly shrinks.
Oh, that's so true. And it's backwards from what we expect, isn't it? We think, I'll feel ready and then I'll start. But the real sequence is, I'll start and then I'll feel ready. The readiness comes after the doing, not before.
Exactly. I remember the first time I had to speak in front of a group of people. I waited and waited, wanting to feel confident first. And I never felt confident. I just eventually had to do it anyway. And it was imperfect and a little awkward. But after, I felt more capable than I had in months, because I had done the scary thing.
And the third cost of waiting, and I think this one is the deepest, is regret. Not the regret of failing, the regret of never trying.
Studies actually show that people, at the end of their lives, regret the things they didn't do far more than the things they did, even when those things went badly. The failed attempt hurts, but you move on. The thing you never tried? That stays with you.
There's a beautiful phrase for this: the road not taken, the path you saw but never walked. And sometimes we romanticize that road. We think, maybe it would have been perfect. Maybe that was the one. But we'll never know because we never took the first step.
And here's the thing. Even if that road had been hard, even if it had gone wrong, you would have learned something. You would have grown. You would have a story. Waiting gives you nothing except more waiting.
So, idea two: waiting is not neutral. It costs you time you can't recover, confidence you need to build, and it risks a regret that is harder to carry than any failure. The price of waiting is real. It's just quiet and slow, so we don't always notice it.
All right, idea 3. And this is my personal favorite. There is a phrase in the startup and creative world that I absolutely love. Done is better than perfect.
Oh, I love that phrase. Say it again.
Done is better than perfect, meaning an imperfect thing that actually exists in the real world is more valuable than a perfect thing that only exists in your head.
Okay, so that's easy to say. But in practice, it's terrifying because we have this image in our minds of how something should look, how good it should be. And the gap between that image and our current abilities feels enormous.
Exactly. And that gap is real. When you're a beginner at something, your taste is often more advanced than your skill. You can see what good looks like. You know what you're aiming for. But what you produce right now doesn't match that vision. And that gap is painful.
There's actually a name for this. Some people call it the taste gap. You have the taste, the ability to recognize quality, before you have the skill to produce it. And beginners often quit during this phase because they think, I'm not good enough. This isn't what I imagined.
But the only way to close the taste gap is to keep producing. Keep doing the imperfect thing. Keep writing the messy draft, speaking the broken sentence, cooking the uneven meal. Every imperfect attempt teaches you something that no amount of waiting and planning ever could.
I want to tell you about when I started this podcast. Oh, the first few episodes were not good. I listened back to my very first episode and I sounded nervous. I rushed. I stumbled over words. It was not the polished, confident Sarah you hear now.
And what would have happened if you waited until you were good enough to start?
I would never have started. Because the only way to become good enough was to start. You cannot get better at something you haven't begun. The first episode had to be bad so that episode 50 could be good.
Yes, this is so important for English learners especially. So many people wait until their English is good enough before they practice speaking. But your English will never become good enough if you don't practice speaking. You have to speak badly first. You have to make mistakes first. That is the process.
And here's what I want you to know. Nobody starts well. Every person you admire, every confident English speaker, every successful person, every skilled creator, started as a complete beginner who had no idea what they were doing. They just started anyway.
There's a great quote I love, and I'm going to paraphrase it. It goes something like, "The secret is to start before you're ready." Not when you're ready, before. Because ready is a feeling that comes from doing, not from waiting.
So idea 3 is this. An imperfect start today is worth infinitely more than a perfect start someday. Done is better than perfect. Begun is better than planned. And the messy, scary, imperfect first step? That is actually the most important step of all. Okay, last idea. And this one is the most practical one. Because maybe you're listening and you're thinking, okay, Sarah, Ryan, I hear you. I know I should start. But how? Where do I even begin?
Great question. And the answer is simpler than you think. You start small. Embarrassingly small. So small it almost feels like it doesn't count.
Embarrassingly small. I love that. Why so small?
Because our brain resists big starts. When you think, I need to start working out, your brain imagines a full gym routine, 6 days a week, no rest. That feels enormous. So you don't do it. But if you say, I'll do 5 minutes of movement right now, suddenly it's manageable. It's doable. So you do it.
And then 5 minutes becomes 10, and 10 becomes 20. And suddenly you have a habit. Not because you made a massive commitment, but because you just showed up. Imperfectly, briefly, consistently.
There's a concept called the 2-minute rule. If a habit or task can be started in 2 minutes, you do it immediately. No delay, no planning, no waiting. The goal isn't to do it perfectly in 2 minutes. The goal is just to start the motion. Because starting is the hardest part.
I use this for everything. When I don't want to write, I open my document and write one sentence. Just one. That's it. And almost every single time, once I've written one sentence, I keep going. But I had to remove the barrier to starting. I had to make the beginning so small that refusing it felt silly.
The barrier to starting. That's such a good way to put it. What is the barrier between you and the thing you want to do? Is it that you don't have the perfect notebook? Start on your phone. Don't have the perfect app? Start with paper. Don't have an hour? Start with 10 minutes. Remove the barrier. Lower the entry point. Begin.
And I want to say something about your English learning specifically, because I know many of you listening are on that journey. If you've been waiting until your English is better to start practicing, to join a conversation, to say something in English, please hear this. You are good enough right now.
Your English right now, today, at this exact level, is good enough to start. Not good enough to be perfect, but good enough to begin. And beginning is all that's needed.
Every great English speaker you admire started exactly where you are. They didn't wait until they were fluent to practice. They practiced their way to fluency. One imperfect sentence at a time. One brave attempt at a time.
So here is your action for today. Not next week, not when things calm down, not when you feel more ready. Today. Pick one small thing you have been putting off. Make it embarrassingly small. And do the first 2 minutes of it right now.
Because here's the truth. The perfect time will never come. But right now you have the podcast that gave you the push. You have the moment. You have the choice. And that is enough. That has always been enough.
Word tour time. 8 fantastic expressions from today. Let's break them down so you can actually use them. Sarah?
First, analysis paralysis. This is when you think, plan, and prepare for so long that you actually can't move forward at all. Too much thinking stops the doing. Example, she spent so long researching the perfect course that she never signed up for one. Classic analysis paralysis. Or, don't fall into analysis paralysis. At some point, you just have to choose and begin.
Second, procrastinate. To procrastinate means to delay doing something, especially something important, by doing other, less important things instead. Example, I keep procrastinating on my English writing practice by telling myself I'll do it tomorrow. Or, procrastinating on hard tasks often makes them feel bigger and scarier than they actually are.
Third, the taste gap. This is the distance between your ability to recognize quality and your current skill level. You can see what good looks like, but you can't produce it yet. Example, every beginner writer experiences the taste gap. Your taste is ahead of your skill, and that gap can be frustrating. Or, understanding the taste gap helps you stay patient with your own progress.
Fourth, imperfect start. Beginning something even when conditions aren't ideal, when you don't feel fully ready, or when the result won't be perfect. Example, the imperfect start she made on her first video led to a channel with 10,000 followers 2 years later. Or, an imperfect start today beats a perfect plan that never happens.
Fifth, entry point. The place or moment where you begin something, where you step in. Lowering the entry point means making starting easier and less intimidating. Example, if practicing English feels overwhelming, lower the entry point. Just read 5 sentences a day. Or, he lowered the entry point to his new habit by starting with just 2 minutes.
Sixth, consistency. Doing something regularly over time, even when it's not exciting or perfect. Consistency is often more powerful than intensity. Example, You don't need to study for 3 hours a day. Just 10 minutes of consistent daily practice is enough to make real progress. Or, consistency beats talent when talent doesn't show up consistently.
Seventh, momentum. The energy and forward motion you build when you keep going. Like a ball rolling downhill, the longer it rolls, the faster and easier it moves. Example. Once she started writing every morning, the momentum carried her forward even on difficult days. Or, the hardest part of any project is building the first bit of momentum.
And eighth, and I love this one, take the plunge. To take the plunge means to finally do something you've been hesitating about, even though it feels scary or risky. You just go for it. Example. After months of thinking about it, he finally took the plunge and signed up for the English speaking club. Or, sometimes you just have to take the plunge and trust that you'll figure it out along the way. Take the plunge, friends.
Okay, let's bring it all home. Today we talked about 4 ideas for stopping the waiting habit. 1. The perfect time is a beautiful lie. It doesn't exist. And what looks like wisdom is often just fear in disguise.
2. Waiting is not neutral. It has a real cost: your time, your confidence, and the quiet risk of regret. The price is just slow and invisible, so we forget to count it.
3. Done is better than perfect. An imperfect start in the real world is worth more than a perfect plan in your head. The messy first step is the most important step.
And 4. Start small, embarrassingly small. Use the 2-minute rule. Lower the entry point, remove the barrier, because starting is the hardest part. And once you've started, momentum takes over.
And I want to leave you with one final thought. You've been listening to this podcast today. You showed up. You gave your time and your attention to something that makes you better. That is not waiting. That is starting. You already started, right here, right now.
So don't stop. Write your comment. Share this episode. Like it if it helped. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And then, go do the small thing, the 2-minute thing, the embarrassingly tiny first step towards what you've been putting off.
Your comment challenge. Write the one thing you've been waiting to start. Right there in the comments. Public commitment is powerful. We'll be cheering for you.
This is Ryan.
And this is Sarah. You've been listening to Key to Learn English.
Stop waiting. You are ready enough. The time is now enough. You are enough. Let's go.
Let's go. See you in the next one. Bye.